For the temperature values on the logs, let's focus this again towards the bottom. So I'm looking up at the logs right now. We have this kind of thing going on. So we'll go like that. And again, we don't want to have these values be too high. So we're going to back off these values here in a minute. But let's start with whites and just paint the bottoms of these right here so that we end up with something that's a bit like this. Now that we have that, we've gone through one pass of painting out these white values. Let's change this foreground color to something dark like that, and then go back over some of those spots and just start breaking up these values. So you notice that as I'm painting this, we still are just getting a little bit of variety in where this distribution is happening by going through and basically painting through this darker foreground color right here. We are also going to give ourselves some room for the embers to be hotter. So it's kind of cool. We get breakup and we also are saving some room for the embers later on. And so now that we've done one pass through this, we might need to change this in the future as well. Maybe go to full black right there and just grab some of these areas like that maybe went a little bit too high. So we'll go somewhere like this, maybe go again, something that's a little bit higher for these areas right along here. Again, most of the temperature that's going to be hitting the logs here will originate from the ember bed. So let's just dial this in a little bit more. The more time you spend in this phase, by the way, the better your simulation is going to be. It really is so important to take your time whenever you are making your source. Make sure that your geometry is interesting. Make sure that you're sourcing in these values in an interesting way, because nothing can save your sim if you don't have that going on. As a matter of fact, I'd say like half the time people don't know why their sim isn't looking good is because they don't have a good source. So it really is that important. Anyway, now that I've done that, let's go to our fuel and paint fuel for these logs. Fuel is going to be roughly the same across the board. Let's go to our background color and start off with a value that's about maybe like 0.75. And then let's apply to all right there. And then we wanted to, again, just have the tops be a little bit darker. This wouldn't actually be as physically accurate by doing this, but this will help control our simulation in that the most intense explosive areas will be towards the bottom. And this will just kind of prevent big, tall flames from happening at the very tops of these logs. So let's just paint a little bit right there. We don't need to spend too much time on this particular portion. I just wanted to, paint this out a little bit like that. And then let's also add a few areas that we like to really see burn. So I really want that area to burn right there, maybe somewhere around there. We can paint a few of these like that. And I think that that's generally good. Maybe do one more pass with just a darker color and just kind of break up some of these values just a tad bit. Just kind of give a general brush over some of these like that. Again, all these values are going to be eventually altered with a noise, but I like to stay in this mindset and get a lot of this effect through how we paint this. Okay, let's now do the same exact thing for the ember bed. So just Alt left mouse drag to create copies of those paint nodes. Hold down Y to cut it like I just did. And then now we're going to focus on the embers. Start with the background color here of black. So apply to all. And we are painting out the temperature. So let's start with whites now in our foreground, go right in the center. This is the hottest part of our simulation. It's right there. And then let's go to this operation for all, change that to smooth, and say apply to all. This will let us feather out. So we can basically paint white like this, and then we can just go to smooth, apply to all, and that will feather this out. We can also do another band here of about 0.5, which, pay attention to this value right here, this B value. 0.5 is that. And so let's do a band of 0.5 like this. Again, our embers are generally hot across the board. And then back to smooth, do that a couple times. Maybe go through some of these ones out here. And I think go to white one more time. Be sure that the center is really hot. And that should be good to go. Let's now go to the fuel. For this, we don't need anything too crazy. Let's just start with black again. So we'll apply to all with this background color. For the foreground color, we don't want a whole lot of fuel. Again, most of that fuel is going to happen on the logs. So let's take our value to maybe about 0.5 and then just go through. I'm just kind of dragging along like this. It's not really any rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of trying to get some different random values going on. And then maybe for the center here, we will have more fuel happening. So maybe go to a value of 0.5 or 0.6. We'll say 0.6. Go again towards the center. Let's smooth. And that will become our fuel. Okay, so now that we have these different colors happening, we need to bring all of this information together into some sort of point cloud that can be understood by this pyro source. So we'll do that in the next video.